Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Phoenix Rising Academy League Analyst Desk. I am tonight joined by Seawolf and Tea Time, and also it's Lemons. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing really good. We had a lot to watch today, a lot of games, a lot of long games today.
Yeah.
Lots of League of Legends was played today.
Yeah, you guys are telling me, man. Whew. I'm gonna need to eat like 3 pizzas after this.
A lot of stuff to analyze and critique.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, with that, we can just get right into it, I feel, as the first one we had was X1 Brotherhood versus Ferocity, and it felt like X1 was ahead for probably 35 minutes. And then they weren't, and then the game ended in 41 minutes.
This game.
Take us through this one a little bit here.
I'm happy to start on this one.
Go ahead.
Do I even want to start? Okay, well, we'll go. Should we start in the draft? I think it's a good place to start, shall we? So they had first pick center on blue side, which is totally fine. But then I think apparently for Seawolf was just telling me they were using an autofilled AD carry, which I guess is acceptable. But they picked Ashe, Tom, Kench, bot lane into center, and I feel like that just gives her the free lane to scale.
Yeah.
Which is probably not a great idea. And that's critiquing the winning team.
Yep.
And then the rest of the draft, I don't know why Xerath is the only pick into Kiana, I guess, which didn't really make sense to me. So I felt like Frosty really entered this draft, at least from my perspective. And then also X1, not only did they like they had an okay draft until they drafted Hecarim. They really needed an AP jungler. Like if they weren't full AD, I think they would have won this game too. So they had that factor as well.
It at least would have been pretty sick. But yeah, they do round it out with Hecarim, which didn't detriment them too much until that 35-minute mark, where it seemed like Rough Beans was finally coming into his own and had outscaled everyone.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was really interesting about this game is the end game when you're looking at that damage chart, and Rough Bean dealt probably equal to any 2 other players in total damage.
3.
Yeah, and you have a 20-6 Kiana on the other team.
Yeah, but I don't even think this was down to Rough Beans. I honestly think that the reason he got so much damage off is just the way that X1 played this game, which was really, really bad. They had a huge lead in the early game, and they failed to play the game correctly. Like Darius was the only lane, the one lane for Frosty, and so he was the only threat on the Frosty team, at least going into the mid game. And their response to that was to group as 5 and kind of run at the enemy team, which is what Darius thrives off. And then Darius just created so much space for Rough Beans just to smash spells into the enemy team for the whole duration of the fight while they were trying to kill this healing Darius. It was just the way X1 played this game was really bad. Like they had to play the side lane, and they had to use Kiana in the side lane, which teams just don't know how to do. They don't know how to play side lane unless they have TP. Like TP is like a crutch for NA teams on how to play the side lane.
Yeah, the target selection, I think, is one of the biggest things as to why Shut Boomer was able to stay alive for so long. For X1, they just didn't. They had the potential to burst people down because they had the super fed Kiana, they had the Hecarim, and the armor wasn't really built up for a while, honestly. Shut Boomer had Thornmail as his 4th item, and no one else really had any armor except for the stone plate of Betsnet. But they had a lot of opportunities. Like there were 2 Lockets on the other team, and you have full AD. You should be thanking your lucky stars at that point, but they just couldn't find the burst down.
Yeah, but like Lockets gives MR, which is wasted. They all have Merc Treads, which is wasted. Like I understand they want the tenacity into the Braum center, but just take the tenacity rune. Like can't Jarvan just take tenacity rune and go Ninja Tabby this game? Like, and can't Darius do the same? Surely they shouldn't be building Merc Treads. You have 3 Merc Treads on the Frosty's team. Like, to me, this is just mind-boggling. And like the wasted stats in the Lockets is a little bit of that comes from MR, because building Aegis is like a decent MR item.
Yeah, and we also see Orbit going for Knight's Vow into Locket, and he's going Zeke's as his 3rd item. There's no stone plate being built up, which is almost necessary right now on supports.
Yeah.
And would have just given him even more stats against this full AD team.
Yeah, I can kind of forgive the Knight's Vow because it gives armor to Miracle as well, which is really good against Kiana and Hecarim. But again, the Locket here just doesn't make sense at all. Like he could even go Randuin's like at this point.
Yeah, I'd much rather have seen a Stone Plate and the Knight's Vow instead of the Locket. But we're critiquing the winning team, but this game was very back and forth, and really Ferocity got very lucky with how X1 decided to play this game and was able to pull it out.
Yeah, it was a lot of bit of luck, and then also like Tea Time brought up, Shut Boomer was super crazy in these fights. He even had that Death Dance, which I initially thought was a little bit troll because he could have gone armor instead, but ended up being really, really clutch for him because then he just keep healing up, and it has that damage reduction on it too, which is really nice. And yeah, it was a Darius paradise there.
Yeah, like I said, like the Hecarim pick, if they had an Elise or something here that could like add to some burst and not give him just something else to stack off, because I'm pretty sure in like 2 of the fights he got his 5th stack off just hitting Hecarim.
Right.
Just something else that would have helped the fight.
That's something else I wanted to kind of go over is the Hecarim picks. They work occasionally, but he's seen a lot of changes at least, and not doing as well as some of the other junglers you can pick right now. And taking it from somebody who used to play Hecarim, it's he can still do well in certain environments, but there's a lot better choices out there.
Yeah, the way that you feel about Hecarim is how I feel about Rakan. But we'll get to that when we talk about Game 4 here. Yeah. Any closing thoughts here on this first game here? It was very, very long, so there's a lot we could really go into, but I don't want to keep everyone here too long, as we do have 2 other 40-minute games.
So the last thing I really want to say is, yeah, the Hecarim pick was pretty troll, but I think there was another pick just as much as Hecarim tonight that was more
get to that
troll.
one. We'll get to that one. But yeah, if I had a closing thought on this one, if you're X1 Supreme, the Kiana, you need to watch Fancy's Kiana game yesterday to learn how to play the side lane. Because if X1 Supreme plays the side lane this game, he wins. That's the fact.
Yeah. Anything from you, Lemons, before we move on to Game 2?
Just honestly, I would like to see Ferocity clean it up a bit. I mean, obviously, long game. It's going to be a knockout, drag-out fight, but I want to see them kind of get that communication on point.
Right.
Yeah, the early game sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. No sugarcoating at all. It's entirely true. They need to fix it. But with that, we can move on to our next game of the night, where we saw SPK Embers picking up their 5th win of the split, and that was up against Team Shaka Supreme, who are now, I believe, 1-4. So really a rough look from them. But again, we had a game where they were ahead for a lot of it, and they had this really, really fed misfortune too, which usually results in a win, but just did not happen this one.
Heimer Doodle's more like Heimer Throw. This guy, this Magi's purchase. I'm telling you, this is one of those moments where like you buy the item and you're like, okay, now I'm gonna like really pop off in 1v9, and the nightmare, like the only way he loses his lead this game is by doing what he did. And it was just really, really sad to see, because this could have been Heimer Doodles' game. Like this could have been the game for him to show his worth, but didn't come through, unfortunately.
It certainly did not.
I had the pleasure of watching this game with Bishan in call. And,
yeah, what did he?
He had a lot of question marks when it came to Heimer Doodles. He basically summarized it as Heimer Doodles is going to be a pretty feast or famine player, and really was going all in on that like solo carry, taking the Dark Harvest, going the Leandri's build, and it didn't end up paying off. So it might not be the correct build path for her.
Yeah. Far from
it. I think the Dark Harvest is really fine on Talia. Like, I think it's the optimal rune because, like, Electrocute's okay if you're landing your full combo, but when you're just queuing, like in team fights, when you're playing them slow, you can proc Dark Harvest 2 or 3 times in a team fight, where Electrocute you can only get the once. So, like, I don't think Dark Harvest itself is like a problem, is like a feast or famine like rune for Talia. I just think that the way he was playing and the itemization again, just some of it wasn't that great. Mostly that
Yeah.
Magi's purchase.
Yeah, the Magi's was pretty troll. He didn't even have like a significant amount of stacks on it. He had 5 when he bought it, and yeah, it stayed at that number for quite some time until it hit 0, and then he
He
sold.
played well up to that point, so I can understand. Like he was feeling
Yeah.
good, but then he just threw it away.
Yeah.
He got cursed. He cursed himself.
He
But
definitely
not
did.
not to flame him too hard, because there's someone else on that team that I want to flame even harder. And I hope you can all be back, Smacks, if you think I'm being too toxic.
No, totally fine. I don't know if you listened into our last 2 analyst desks, but we had Nutty on the first, and then Laxon was on yesterday. So
Oh, God.
I don't think you could ever
Don't
hit that
stop
one.
giving Laxon interviews, man, please. This is just torture. It's torture for everyone listening. It's torture for everyone involved. It's just, please.
I have a good time with him, but yeah,
One of many. Yeah.
right. The person that I think really had the opportunity to hard carry this game and then just didn't was Azuki on the Aatrox. I don't know if that's the direction you were going, Tea Time, but
No, no,
was not?
unfortunately not. You can play him, but
Yeah.
I'm going to play
No,
someone else.
yeah. This is as an Aatrox player myself, when I am put top lane, which is not too often, but I do like Aatrox quite a bit. This is the ideal team comp for him. You get a QSS, and then you don't have to worry about the Malzahar, and everyone else is either burst from Senna or just no DPS at all. And you don't get shred by anyone, and you can just have a field day with Conquer and Death Stance. But he just didn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think the team fights he should have been really popping off. I think he was trying to split a lot. Ironically, I was just flaming NA players in the side lane, but this guy kind of did almost again. Like he spent too much time in the side lane. When Aatrox is the champion, that the reason why he's still being picked in pro play isn't because like he's super OP or anything. It's just because like he's okay going 0-0 in lane. Like he's totally chill doing that, and then just coming down at level 6, level 11, having these huge team fights around Dragon and just popping off. But we just didn't see that out of this guy.
Yeah, the Aatrox rework and how he is in the meta right now, just a safer version of Riven, where you can go for these team fights and you can do it a little bit more often because you're less reliant on the flash too, which is why he is so strong. But he didn't go for those team fights like you mentioned. He went to the side lane here. But I am curious as to who you thought was the real reason why they didn't win.
Okay, so we had a really, really nice piece of macro coming out of TFT. Okay, they sent Boy to the bot lane. I thought finally a team is learning how to play the side lanes. I'm going to bring it up again because it is an important factor, and NA needs to learn this. So Boy went bottom. He was threatening the inhib. He forced Deku back, and then the rest of the team were dancing around Baron. They were doing it really nicely until one person got caught. And honestly, if I was TFT, I'd be looking for a new support right now because this guy, BX Bernard, he completely threw the game when he got caught because he killed himself, he killed Heimerdoodles, he lost the Baron Soul, he lost the Dragon Soul, and he lost the Baron when your team had the inhib for free. You literally got the inhib for free, and you did all that yourself by getting caught. This man needs to be benched. I'm sorry. That's my flame. If I was their coach, I'd bench him today.
He's the only one with TFT in his name too. Feels pretty bad.
Yeah, bench the
Pretty bad.
Laxon.
Feels pretty
Oh man, yeah.
That's my rant about that guy. Anyway,
Yeah. So
we're about to watch
Seawolf
it. It's on
Lemons-
stream right now. Actually,
Yeah.
there it is. Oh, there we go. Brilliant. Oh, yikes.
Seawolf Lemons, who's your pick for the person who threw the hardest on TFT?
So I actually have somebody on SPK I want to talk about, and it's not most likely the person you guys all think I would talk about, and that's Deku in the top lane.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys were watching or not at all this game, but this man upgraded Trundles.
I was watching the upgrades.
Trinity Force, and then I believe he got Brahms Redemption, and then finally got the Luden's Echo on Sleeply.
And he had Death Cap at the time.
yeah, he had Death Cap. I believe Leandry's is also upgradable.
I don't think it is.
From what the Ornn player in my call was saying. And
Maybe I'm
it's
wrong on
not.
that? I don't think it is.
It's not?
It's
Okay.
definitely not on it. No.
All right, so yeah, you're looking at the random ends. You can't get anything off of hymns because apparently Senna doesn't build any items, and you're actually trying to figure out one, and I don't think there is one. But
Infinity Edge is really good. If he had that instead of the Rapid,
But yeah, I think we're gonna talk about Trundle at some point, Timeless. But
Oh, getting there. We're getting there.
I'll pass it on to Lemons though, so he can bring up.
Well, we're getting some info here in the chat though. I gotta say, it says sleeplessness was the cause of not putting the item in the first slot. So Sleeply was the reason why the Luden's Echo got upgraded. But anyways,
Right, yeah.
I do have to say I want to circle back, and I do have to agree. BX Nard was just not great. The blame can be shared though, as we started the whole conversation with Heimerdoodles, I think. But it's definitely a 2-man blame cycle, I want to say, for this team right now, because that's just a little bit of a rough time.
If I was Boy, I'd be looking for a new team. This guy landed an insane engage at Dragon. I don't know if you guys remember this.
So sick.
But where was the MFO? Where was the Leono? Where was the Aatrox? Like, what? Imagine if those guys had gone in with him. Like, where is your team, man? And then he gets a free in-hit bot. Oh, I'd be tilted if I was him.
Yeah, he was doing really, really well in the Diana.
His scoreline doesn't show it, but poor guy.
Right, yeah.
And to be fair to TFT, they did have some like signs of hope. They did have some macro game that actually looked really good, and then they just like had that one player that stepped out of position. So this isn't a team that you can like look past. We are giving them a hard time, but this is definitely a team that could fix up a few mistakes and could be a scary team to face later on.
Yeah,
for sure.
Despite their scoreline in the standings, they at least have 4 losses. I don't know if they lost their other game off stream, but they were 1-4 going into their 6th game. Pretty rough stuff. But yeah, like you mentioned, I really like a lot of the stuff that they did this game. Is just they need to clean it up a little bit more and maybe not throw so hard at the Baron. But yeah, we can move on over to the next game. We'll talk more about Timeless's Trundle in game 4 because he did play it again. Yeah, he played it again. But anyway, we've got Ferocity in another game, and this one is against the Red Hair Pirates, another team that ended up with only 1 win by the end of today, I believe. Yeah, they I was really excited about the Lucian Thresh bot lane, and then they picked Sivir, and I was like, all right, it's another 40-minute game.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing to Seawolf. In the first game, they had Senna was first picked on blue side, and they picked Ashe into it. And I was like, but Lucian's open, why didn't you pick it? And then they picked the Lucian into the Senna. I thought, finally, right, they're going to punish this Senna. They can go Lucian Braum. I think, actually, Braum was banned. They can go Lucian Thresh, and they can destroy the Senna lane. And then they put Lucian mid against Rumble.
Yeah.
So to be fair, I do think Ferocity learned from their first game, and that's that games in this group are going to be going to 40 minutes. And so they invested in that, picking up that Sivir, which ended up paying off. So
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. It's just that Diamond and Despotators got the freest lane of their lives on 2 of the premier scaling champions in the bot lane. And they also had damage on this team. Unlike SPK, they actually do have damage on the other 3 members. Maybe not Malphite, but the Olaf Rumble is a really good damage core. And then they have the scaling healing duo of Senna Taric. So it was really, really scary that you gave a free lane to these 2. But they ended up winning. So
on the back of Bates net.
Really.
This guy really won B9 third game.
He really did.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive Gragas performance. The casks were on point pretty much every time. They either had to be flashed away or you were dead if you saw the cask coming at you.
Yeah, he saved the game with the Dragon Steel as well on the 4th Dragon. If they got sold there, I don't think they come back.
I agree.
Yeah, he's an interesting player to look at because I think in their earlier game, he was definitely a question mark for him. But in this game, he really pulled it together and played very well.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe he's not confident on Jarvan. I didn't really see much of him in that game. They got the win though, so you know.
Yeah, he's a 2-0 jungler at the end of the day.
For sure. I think one of the biggest things for this, at least for Ferocity, is the double ADC comp, especially the crit. It worked out obviously, but I think it's something you've got to be really careful with in the future and definitely practice up a little bit. There were some sloppy moments, but I think overall it was a good game. But I definitely think you have to be careful of teams that are going to be able to shut that down.
Yeah, there were thoughts of Randu and Zoman at 39 minutes into the game, but Asperial never ended up finishing it, and he just watched his Nexus explode before he could buy it. Against 2 Infinity Edge users, probably going to want to buy that item, guys.
Yeah, I know he needs mana, but the Abyssal Mask is a bit random, I think.
Yeah.
And
I guess he wanted to help Rumble do a bit more damage, but it's not worth it.
Another kind of concerning thing coming out for Ferocity is they seem to play down to their opponents. So we saw them playing up and playing with X1 earlier today, and then they go up against Red Hair Pirates, and they kind of just, again, they have this really close game that for a top tier team probably should not be close. So
Are we calling them top tier though? They lost both games early game really, really badly against 2 teams that aren't in the top of their division. Well, I mean X1.
X1
I was disappointed with. I was disappointed with that.
So they're in the top 4. So
yeah, they're 4-2 at the end of today.
I don't know how, because they lost both early games like massively badly in these games. So
yeah,
just guess they got lucky today.
It's definitely interesting. It's definitely something that you got to improve on. There are definitely a large number of teams in this tournament that if you give them that lead in the early game, especially moving into playoffs, and even in this group, as probably the next thing we talk about, they're gonna close that game out. You're not gonna get that second chance, and that's just something we need to see improvements on from Ferocity.
Right. And I think we also need to see improvements on it for SPK too, as they were the victims of a slaughter. Because I know that's what you were alluding to before. We can go into game 4 here. Akuma Katana's finally breathe life into my lungs, and they close a game out in 27 minutes. This team looks super menacing in this form here.
Can I want to say that I don't necessarily think it was that Akuma did really well here. I think that the draft from SPK was completely the worst draft I've ever seen in PRL at this level.
I agree.
And I think at this level, drafts are pretty bad. And that's saying something. Like, this was hands down the worst draft I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was shocking to me. I don't know if you guys, someone was arguing with me in the chat about it, and then he ended up disappearing about 5 minutes into the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Because he I don't know what he was getting at there, but Kaisa Rakan in this meta is just never a lane that you want, and they first picked it.
Well, this is the thing. Akuma opened the draft on blue side with first pick Xayah, which isn't that good, in my opinion. Like, there are so many things that you can pick. Like, Leona, she was open.
Right.
Like, you can play Leona MF into Xayah Rakan. You can play Aphelios Braum. You can play Lucian Braum. You could even go Kate Morgana if you really want. But, like, Kaisa Rakan, it's like, I know it's like a decent bot lane together, or it was in Season 9, but now it's not good anymore, guys.
No.
Like, this is not playable.
So I have another point that is a little bit striking to me because it's a little bit of a newer change, but Kaisa players here recently don't go the Manamune first anymore, and you go a little bit of a separate build. And to see the Manamune come out and then also them not playing the lane very well, it questions, do they have the practice that they need to in these positions at least?
What's the other build? Sorry, because I thought Manamune was the AP build pretty much all the time.
So I'm pretty sure that it goes back. It went back to like the on hit build, like the full on hit,
like
Blade
Blade
with Bork. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I think it's still Manamune, Ginsu's, Nash's for the AP build. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's actually the premier build now, which is really
I think
unfortunate because Stormrazor has been pushed out with the 5 AD nerf. Nerfing Kaisa even further than she already was. Really unfortunate for that champion, but we're still seeing it. And I don't know.
When you look at the top meta picks that Kaisa can still be played into, I think Senna is fine because she can go you can match Manamune for Manamune, so it's okay. And then I think the other one that you can kind of play it into is actually Xayah, because you can still go Kai'Sa Nautilus. It's not like as good as it was last season, but it's still okay. Even into Xayah Rakan, it's still okay. Like, there are way better things you can play, but like, if you were gonna pick Kai'Sa, you'd go with that. I guess they were just terrified of giving away the Rakan, but if you were terrified of giving away the Rakan, then you probably should have banned Xayah or Rakan, you know? Like,
Yeah.
or just pick the Leona. Give them Rakan.
Why
Pick
do you
Leona.
think they did pick the Rakan in that situation? Was there like some master plan?
Tick can't play Leona is my only possible answer to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're seeing in the chat that Goose is talking about it. He talked about it in the interview too, but he said that he went Xayah first because it was a denial away from Hims, and then it would force him onto Kai'Sa, is what he was hoping, and it did happen. And yeah,
Okay,
that's a
but
little bit of information there.
It doesn't force them to pick Rakan, because they could just pick Nautilus, Leona. Like, why couldn't they just run Kai'Sa Leona into Xayah Rakan?
Right.
Like, surely they could do
definitely
that.
could have, but they ended up taking the bait of not
Yeah.
wanting to play against Khan.
And all flame onto Hims. If Hims can only play Xayah Kai'Sa, then he's stuck a fucking year behind everyone else, dude. Like, come on,
Yeah.
buddy. It's like, you got time to catch up now. It's Aphelios, Senna, Lucian, MF, and if you're not playing those champions, or even Varus and Ashe are okay with Tahm
Right.
Kench in the meta and Braum, but like, if you're not playing those champions, like, you're not an AD carry anymore. Like, go back to school, buddy. You got some practice to do.
It's like I was mentioning on the cast, there are probably about 20 champions that you could be picking bot lane, and that might be pushed, but that are better than Kai'Sa in the meta. Just after the barrage of nerfs that she's receiving, all of the champions that are good right now outrange her and bully her in the lane. There's just really no hope for her. There's no point in picking a champion that is built to beat tanks, when first of all, no one's picking tanks, and second of all, that potency is not as strong as it used to be either. So
how far we've come, right? It's amazing to see how quickly League of Legends can change when a champion dominates the scene for so long, and then all of a sudden it's just one of the worst picks you can pick.
That's preseason, baby.
Tragic.
And this funnily enough, last season for PRL, these would have been your 280 carries you saw every single game, and now we're sitting here talking about it like both of these. Xayah's playable, but Kai'Sa is probably very difficult. She probably could have been played in this game if you take the Nautilus or Leona with it into Xayah Rakan, and you're probably fine. But they don't do that, and just getting baited into that Rakan pick was huge.
Yeah,
really
if you look at the 4 champion spot lane and you rewind to 12 months, Leona would have been the odd one out. Like, oh, Leona, that's a bit spicy. Oh, I guess it's a nice pocket pick counter to Rakan, right? That's what they would have said 12 months ago. But now it's like the opposite. It's like Leona is the meta, the other 3 are the odd one out. Like, Xayah Rakan is still meta as a duo, but it's not as strong as it used to be, because there's too much stuff that can counter it. And people have figured it out, because it was so strong last season. People have figured out the counters, and it got nerfed.
Yeah, we've stayed down this bot lane a little bit too long. I think we do have 2 other things to talk about.
We're just saving time. This is Trundle. We're just saving it up.
That's one of them. The Trundle is where we can go now. This champion is not good until you have a counter pick.
Okay, I disagree. I think Trundle is really, really strong. I think this guy is really confused about why Trundle is strong. So Trundle was like a niche counter pick last patch before he got the buffs.
The buffs are quite nice. That is true.
But the slow increase on his pillar means that if you take Trundle, you can actually like seriously gank now. And the buffs to blue side jungle helped him a lot. And I was playing him a decent amount in preseason myself. In EU, so we have real solo queue of that, guys.
Yes, that's true.
And the blue side buffs make it a lot easier for him, because he doesn't have to worry about clearing your Krugs all the time or clearing Raptors all the time. Like, you can stick to, red, blue Gromp Wolves, and then your red buff, and occasionally you can grab Raptors, and be a pretty decent champion in its own right, especially when you're up against one tank. I think his best time is when he's up against one tank, because he ults that one tank and the whole front line is just demolished. And that was how it used to be. It used to be okay. But then the recent buffs have kind of pushed him into the period where he's actually really strong, in my opinion. Like, you can put 3 points E to have a really strong early game with ganking, and then as team fights develop, you put more points in W, and then you max out E last to catch the AD carry. in the super late game. But the way this guy played it was super confused. The first game, so the one that they played against, I can't remember.
X1 Brotherhood.
Yeah, the first one he went against
Sorry,
X1 Brotherhood. He took
Oh wait, no, he played against the Pirates.
Oh, he played against Pirates. My bad.
Yeah, sorry. He played against Pirates. He took Conqueror and went Warrior. So Conqueror is absolutely terrible on Trundle. You have to walk up to them, auto Q, auto, then you'll have Conqueror. And it's like, that's just too long. Conqueror generally terrible. And then on top of that, he's going Warrior and Triforce, which just isn't good at all. Like, you don't think Trundle to be an AD jungler. You know, if you want to take Warrior Triforce, go something else. Go Vi, for God's sakes. Go something else. You know? Warrior Triforce is not what you build on Trundle. This champion is a Cinderhawk champion. You can go Cinderhawk Triforce if you are like really snowballing, or you go Cinderhawk Zeke's full tank. Like, those are the two options. There isn't a world where Warrior Triforce is ever like good and competitive at all on Trundle. And then Conqueror was Troll. And then the second game, it's like he's just like decided to change his build up, and he goes PTA, and he goes Cinderhawk. And I'm thinking like, oh, maybe this guy learned how to play Trundle in the last like hour. And then he built the Thornmail and started building Sterix. And I was like, this guy's just doomed. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing on this champion. Like, this is really bad. And he put a lot of pro on it, so I guess he's had success on it in solo queue.
Yeah, I'm thinking that he rolled the skin in a loot box.
I'm thinking that too, because he definitely had that skin real quick. I'm telling you that.
Yeah.
So I'm a support player, and even I was looking at this build going, where's the Knight's Vow? Where's the Zeeks? These are the items you're supposed to be building on Trundle Jungle. So
yeah, like the reason why, sorry to interrupt you, but like the passive from Trundle is so good with Visage, like, because it gives you a percentage of an enemy's max HP. So if you ult the Ornn or something and he dies, you get like 2k heal. And then if you have Visage on top of that, it's like a 3k heal. So like, and also resistances themselves stack with HP. So if you have Cinderhawk, for example, and you're just buying HP, like, you have Cinderhawk, you have Visage, and all the HPs start stacking up, because Cinderhawk gives you extra HP, and then you steal some resistances, you're unkillable. That's why Trundle is good. But like, just he doesn't know how to build this champion. He's building like a full resistance item in Thornmail, and it's like, you don't need the Thornmail. Like, you can just get the Bramble if you really want like anti-heal, but even that's not good. It relies on the enemy team auto attacking you.
Yeah.
But after that, like, you need to get their other items, man. You need to get your Seeks. You need to get your Visage.
Yeah, I think Mouse Dixie brought up a good point that I want to touch on is also Stoneplate. That item is ridiculous right now, and it's cheap. So I don't.
Play is insane. Like,
yeah, this is supposed to be a supportive pick for the rest of the team, and we don't see that, and it's a big issue.
It's
when he's going Warrior
the rest of the
Triforce, he's not supporting, is he?
Yeah,
The rest of the team is also supportive picks. You've got Shen, Lissandra. The only damage you have is hymns on the Kaisa, and he gets outranged by everyone. Even the melee champions outrange him.
Yeah, even in the game they won earlier today, their team comp was just really questionable, and I think that draft was actually worse than the draft that they ran today in this game, because
you think so?
You're not bringing damage. What damage are you bringing? You have Senna, and then you have Malzahar, and that's about it. Like, you have to have another damage threat in that team.
Are we flaming Sleepy's pool then? Because this guy seems to play Zoe, Lissandra, and Malzahar, and that's it. I haven't seen him play something else.
He plays Karma too, but that's not much better.
Yeah, where are his Rises, his Cassios, his DPS threat mid? Like, where is that? Like, he needs to have that. Even LeBlanc's a bit of an assassin, but like, even Tristana, like, or, you know, even Lucian, anything that can do DPS, this guy needs to have that if Senna's meta. You need to have that in your pool.
Yeah, I'd really like to see some DPS threats out of Sleepy moving forward.
Yeah, it just seems like this team really needs someone to deal damage on it at any point, but because their champion pools are not catered to that at all. In this meta especially, where a lot of the time you're having 4 damage champions on your team, or even 5 sometimes too. I don't know. It's a really weird conundrum here, because I do think that they are genuinely a good team and they genuinely are good players. They just need to focus their champion pool on what's actually good. And then, like, it's not even all of them have to. You can play 2 supports. You can play 3 supports. Soraka top is meta, for God's sake. You can do that,
J-Web knows
but
that.
you need to have someone who's going to deal damage, and Kaisa is not the champion for that. But I digress. Well played. We spent the entire time talking about SBK Embers, but a very well played game by Akuma. They did a really good job just outdrafting them and then also just outplaying them as well. Even though Timeless did get those neutral objectives early on, it was a really nice game. But we do have to close it out. We're taking a bit of a time. Of course, it's understandable as those games were really long. But do you guys have any closing thoughts on this game, and then also just the standings as a whole here for the Ashes division?
If Akuma keeps playing the way they played in this game versus other teams, and every other team wants to play this more slow-paced game, I would be surprised if they drop a game the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, who did Akuma lose to, by the way?
They lost to X1.
Oh, so X1 is a team that I was really excited to see in the first game, and I was extremely disappointed. So their coach needs to teach them how to play sidelines, and then they'll be a really good team going into playoffs, I think. I think that Akuma will, like I said, probably win out, and I think SVK got found out today. I think they got found out that they can't draft.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts.
I definitely have to agree. I do think Akuma are looking very, very strong, but you do have to kind of keep an eye on the rest of the pack there as well, especially in X1. I mean, not the greatest, but definitely want to see some improvement. My biggest thing is, SPK did get found out a little bit today, but I do think that they have the mental strength at least to put in some serious practice so we can come up with something maybe a little bit more polished next week.
Right. All right. Well, thank you to my analysts tonight. We had a great time. Of course, the stream was very, very long, as you guys can tell. It's almost midnight EST. But yeah, thank you to Seawolf, Lemons, and Tea Time for hopping on the desk with me tonight. It's been a great time. Especially thank you for Seawolf and Lemons, who have been on 3 consecutive nights. I don't know if Seawolf is going to do it tomorrow because he's playing tomorrow. But yeah, maybe Lemons and Tea Time will still be here. We'll have to see. But yeah, thank you guys for watching so much. It's been a great time. The Analyst Desk has been really, really fun this week. Every single night.
It really has.
Yeah.
It's my first time, so thanks for having me, Smacks. I really enjoyed
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, thank you for being on. It was a great time. We were supposed to have Thin Uncle Phil on as well, but he had to dip.
He's the X1 coach. He needs to get his work done. Like, this guy's got to teach him how to play sidelines.
I imagine that's what he's doing. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. You can support us on our YouTube and our Patreon at Phoenix Rising League. We did, like I mentioned, we posted that podcast last night. If you are interested in more long-lasting content like this, we also have our other analyst desks that we record, also post on YouTube. So if you want to catch the other 2 nights, those are on the YouTube as well. If you want to watch those. You can also drop us a follow or a Twitch Prime sub. Those are both free ways to support us here on our Twitch. We do appreciate it very, very much. And then, of course, you can also follow us on Twitter at Phoenix Rising NA. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the Liftoff Show at 6:30 Eastern Time, for the games at 7 Eastern Time for the Rebirth Division tomorrow. And we'll see you all tomorrow.